You're the first one to answer like that. I think that's the best one so far. That's very good. Yeah, I agree.
I'm cheating a little bit because I think my kids are the ones who kind of push me on this kind of
Yeah.
stuff because I think that kids, especially my kids are they're 15, 13, and 12, and their questions about why get more
Mhm.
sophisticated as they get
Yeah.
older. And I think especially for my daughter and my middle son, I'll give you a basic example. The grandparents questions when you're this age. Oh, how's school, right? How's school? You're in high school. What are you thinking about college? Or what do you think you want to study? And my daughter laughs and she's just like, I mean, are you grown-ups going to make sure we have an education department? Like, she's not being a smart aleck. She's genuinely like, do you know if we're going to have that here? Because it's like, young people are asked a lot.
Like I can't vote yet. You
Yeah,
can.
exactly. She's just like, I mean, she goes, I'm hearing stuff about college. She's an objective observer, right? She's 15. She's hearing stuff about, it's on YouTube. It's
Mhm.
everywhere. Where it's like, to my daughter's mind, it's like most Americans can't go to college without signing up to be in a debtor's prison.
Yeah.
She's like, I like what I mean. What
Like
do you want me
it
to?
makes no economic sense to go to college now.
Yeah, and so it's like my daughter in real time, and this kind of ties to that future thing. Is like my daughter in real time is like, why do you grown-ups keep asking me questions
Hmm.
about like me doing things the way that you did them when it didn't even work out for you?
Yeah.
Like that's weird. Like why are you asking me about college and like this thing and this thing is going on with my cousin, my friend, my this older sister, and you guys are asking me if I want to sign up for that.
Yeah.
So that's to me is just kind of a microcosm I think is going to happen in the future where people are going to look back and be like, wow, so much of this was self-inflicted.
Yeah. So change the subjects a little bit. Something kind of personal, right? So you're a parent with 3 kids. Talk about balancing the importance of being a parent with like all the other stuff you're doing. Like how do you get that balance going on?
I don't believe in balance. I believe in harmony. And I say that because and I don't say that as like a cop out. I mean, like, I noticed that the balance question does primarily come from kind of like men in the workplace. Because, like, to be a mother is to know there's no such thing as balance. Like, your introduction to motherhood is 9 months. I mean, imagine somebody's like, how do you balance growing a human inside you? It's like you don't. You have morning sickness. Your feet swell up. Like, there's no balance, there's life. And if life is healthy and vibrant and all of that, then it's like I'm on the right track, right? But I think about that sometimes about how like motherhood, not parenting, motherhood, it trains you differently than I think what people talk about with parenting and work-life balance. And maybe I'm super biased on this because I actually had all 3 of my kids at home with midwives, unmedicated, and so all my labors were like over 12 hours. So when you're in the throes of that labor pain, and then you fast forward and somebody's like, how do you balance your children? And you're just like, like it's just kind of like it lives on a different planet from maybe your experience of how you even brought your kids into the world.
So let me ask you this: do you think what you do, like being an entrepreneur or VC, all the kind of stuff you do, is making yourself an even better role model for your kids?
I would say it's less being a role model and more like being integrated into the world that hopefully I'm trying to shape a path and somewhat of a world for them, right? Like you asked me about this TEDx thing. It's like TEDx Bowtown Women. I want my daughter to be able to go. I want her friends to be able to go, right? So it's like I want to be an active participant. So when my kids ask those hard questions about like what have you grown-ups done to the world, I want to be able to have a good answer for them. So there's role model, but then there's also being integrated and also staying relevant, right? There was always like a tension with particularly those teenage years. There's trends and like now it's screens and all that. And I stayed at home with my kids when they were really young before I went back into the workforce. And there does become this relevance thing that I saw some of my friends who decided and were able to stay home longer. And it was tough, right? Because when you are the parent that decides to stay at home, and typically that's a mom, and it's like now the kids are like, hey, and now once again you're doing the mom dad thing of like, where are your grades? What are you doing for work? Are you gonna get your learner's permit? You're gonna get all this. There does come a point if you've stayed home long enough where it's like your kids are going to start venturing into a world that you've been out of touch with for potentially 15 to 18 years staying at home. So your kids are, so people talk about workforce readiness, and now you have to kind of outsource workforce readiness because like, and I had friends like this who were like, hey Sierra, or these different programs, can you help my kid with their resume? Why? Because one of the things that comes with sometimes staying at home and not working is, I don't know what resumes look like. and to be fair, even us out there, a lot of people are still trying to look for the silver bullet with resumes. It's
all
just
these
that
versions.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like I'm not saying that there's any right or wrong. It's just that what I've noticed is that I've had to navigate my mom guilt about traveling and doing all these things and all that, and at the same time, I am able to bring to my kids contacts and resources and learnings and things that come out from play testing in the real world and come from my hard knocks with SOWs and contracts and this and this, and I'm able to talk to them about conflict. I'm able to parent them in a way that's a bit more like grounded in that, and that's all that any of us can do, right? Because it takes a village. Like my kids still have people around them from all kinds of walks of life to help them with that. But I just say all that to say that role model is one thing, being accountable for the world you're making for your kids is another, and then there's a whole separate one of like staying sharp on like the kind of world you're sending your kids into, and it's very hard to do that if you've been far removed from it yourself.
So how much do you share with your kids? Like, do you share everything with them, or like something's really had a really bad day, you keep it from them? Like, how do you go about sharing stuff with your kids?
It depends. One of the things I try to do with the kids is I do try to just show them that just because you do everything right. I think there's a thing, and I was raised with this, and it's a thing where you're hey, if you behave yourself, right? If you're a good girl or boy, everything will go the way you want it to, right? And that's just not true. And like that's kind of like not the form of leverage myself or my co-parent use with my kids, right? And that's the thing. It's like the whole idea of people kind of parent from that place, and then when something doesn't turn out the way their kids want, they say life's unfair, deal with it. But it's like there is something I think important about, like you said, like when you have a bad day, if you can or whatever, if your kids are interested, your kids, at least mine, they can read me like a book. So it's like there are times where I give them a window into life wasn't fair,
So what is deep tech?
What is deep tech?
Yeah.
Yes. So people have different definitions of deep tech. Some people would tell you that deep tech is, remember I told you earlier about enterprise SaaS, about like, what are you going to run it on? How are you going to power it? How are you going to secure it? How are you going to, right, all that stuff. So there's one definition of deep tech that says deep tech is all of the hardware intensive, manufacturing intensive, raw materials, resource sorts of things that require a lot of capital, expertise, and infrastructure to be able to bring to market or to be usable. So that's one working definition of deep tech. I gotta tell you, in a world, particularly in our region where people are obsessed with enterprise SaaS, it actually doesn't have to go that deep for some people to kind of be out of lockstep with it. AI is a very good example of that, with what's going on with data centers right now.
So how do you say the name of your VC? It's Barclow?
Yes.
So you're investing in the future, correct?
Yes. Can
something be too far in the future?
Yes and no. There's a few ways to kind of think of the future. Let me level set this kind of like on the where you can merge practicality and philosophy when it comes to future and futurism. It's either the future or death. Okay, so let me start there. Either to live is to future. Okay. I think sometimes we forget that, right?
Yeah.
To live is to future.
Yeah.
So it always behooves you, particularly when you're surrounded by huge amounts of change happening very rapidly around topics and things you admittedly don't understand. I'm in that camp, just like with the rest of humanity. It's very important to be future present. What does that mean? So at Barclow, our kind of philosophy is there's future today, future tomorrow, and future day after. This window of future today, future tomorrow, that's where a lot of this very rapid change is happening, and there's like a lot of dynamics around that. So for some people, they'll say, how far out in the future is the future? One thing that I'm learning being a part of Barclow and educating people about quantum and deep tech and all that is that the whole investment thesis thing, right? The time horizon thing. We are in what I call a time horizon traffic jam right now, meaning that the folks who say, hey, tell me about quantum, Google says 3 to 5 years. What do you think? And I'm like, man, it's hard to crystal ball that, but I'm not going to disagree with Google. I'm not going to disagree with the Project Willow folks, and I'm under NDA for some things. I'm like, yeah, I think that's probably smart that you anchor on that. And it's not that people are skeptical, and it's not even necessarily like they don't want to like invest or understand it better. It's just like, don't I need all of my AI investments to pay off in 3 to 5 years? Don't wait a second. I invested in AI and it's not hedged on data centers and compute and energy and water use. Better throw in a bunch of money into data centers. Oh wait, rare earth minerals, we need stuff for the chips. We need stuff to go in the data centers. I didn't hedge on that either. How long is it going to take to get all this stuff? 3 to 5 years? And I think that could kind of be the rub, is like, because the thing is that all this stuff is cumulative, right? So you could say like something's too far in the future, but you're still having to make sure things shook out on your past investments. That's how portfolios work. So, from an investment lens, something's too far in the future. From a research lens, that's a different type of future perspective. So and I think that's why I come back to saying like, we're treating the future like this investment class instead of an imperative.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you're going to get the rub with like the time horizons.
So next one, so a guy named Michael Baldwin did a post that you reposted, and basically he was shitting on people who said fail fast, right? And like me, that's my pet peeve too. Like whenever someone fail fast, they talk to me. You're talking to Stanford engineers, the people that have privilege, whatever. Like most people can't like take 90 days and do that, right? So give us your take on that.
Yeah, so part of the reason I shared that is, do you remember I told you about like the world we want to create is not SaaS? You can fail fast in Scrum.
Yeah. You
can fail fast in the SDLC. You can fail fast in rapid prototyping. But in that world we talked about, do you want doctors failing fast?
Like I have a good friend, he was on podcast with Brandon Doyle. So he basically has like a machine that cleans air, right? Like if you would have stopped at 90 days, he wouldn't have had a multi-million-dollar company, right? Like some things you need more time, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's a function, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's cycles, but it's like, think about what we mean when we say fail fast, right? Once again, we're back into investment class, we're back into Y Combinator, A16Z.
The startup weekend thing.
Yeah, we're like that, but once you get outside of that, right?